Hello, friends. Namaskar, Adab, Sat Sri Akal. Good morning from the studios of Desi Junction. This is Jassi Parmar with another episode of Public Demand. हमारी कोशिश रहती है कि आपके लिए स्पेशल गेस्ट लेकर आए जो दुनिया में कुछ ऐसा इम्पैक्ट डाल रहे हैं who are making a big difference in this world. So every week we try to introduce to such guests, and today we are very privileged क्योंकि आज हमारे साथ इस एपिसोड में जुड़ने वाले हैं गोलो पिल्स, जो कि एक ग्लोबल लीडर हैं in multiple fields. He's been living in India for so many years and he's been doing wonderful work for the environment, for the spiritual journey, and we are very blessed. Mr. Golo Pilz, welcome to Desi Junction. How are you, sir?
Thanks very much, Jesse, and thanks for inviting me to Public Demand. And I'm very fine. I'm enjoying the hospitality here in Raleigh of our local Brahma Kumari Center, and I'm enjoying also the nice weather. And you mentioned I'm in India. In 4 days, I will be back in India, and guess what? It will be very, very hot when I reach there.
That is right. So, Raleigh is a beautiful place. It has a lot of greenery. It has a lot of rain and sunshine, everything the nature has to offer. And you've been around the world. What has been your observation and why are you on this special mission? What is your purpose? Why are you roaming around the world, living in India? What are you up to?
Well, I actually came 40 years ago, the first time to India. I'm originating from Germany, which is very similar in climate and nature than beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina. And 40 years ago, I came to India first time. I joined the Brahma Kumaris and I learned about meditation. And I became the advisor on solar energy. And 30 years ago, we started to go more deeply into renewable energy projects, into research, and we were trying to find out what is suitable for India and how can we sort of make a difference to the energy demand, to the energy generation of the institution, but also how can we help local communities. So we started some projects, research projects, small solar home electric systems with a wind generator, a little bit photovoltaic, and we got some funding from the German government. Then we did a bit bigger projects for some of our centers with Australian help, and then things got a slightly bigger. Again, we set up a solar steam cooking system for our institution and cooked 2,000 meals per day. Got some funding from the German government, and then it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And we founded also a environment initiative almost 15 years ago, and we're going regular to the UN climate conferences and trying to inspire people for lifestyle change and to become aware of the transition we're undergoing right now. And I'm here in the US and visit our local centers and try to inspire our members to go a bit more green, see a bit more how they personally can contribute towards green energy generation, clean technology, and so on. So basically, I'm trying to raise the awareness what's going on and how to prepare for the change.
Wonderful. We'll talk about all that. We have enough time today to talk about UN climate conferences. We will talk about the ethical solutions for the environment. We'll talk about the inner soul searches. But before we do all that, I want to know about who is Golo and where in Germany you came from. When you were growing up, did you ever in your wildest dream had this thought that you will be one day living in beautiful India and doing something for the world? Like how your journey started?
That's a very interesting question. Actually, when I was a small boy, I thought I'm born in the wrong country, wrong parents, and the wrong time. And I asked my mom what went wrong, and my mom said, of course, everything is all right, everything is perfectly okay. But I had this odd feeling something went wrong. And interestingly, it never really left me, and I was a bit of a searcher. I did my high school in Germany, and then I started a diploma as a carpenter, and which is in Germany a bit more building houses. You learn basic engineering and so on. And in the middle of that, I also searched parallel to a spiritual solution and looked a bit more deeper. I came in contact with the Brahma Kumaris, and then 1985, I came the first time to India. And when I came to New Delhi, you know, at that time it was a peaceful city with much less pollution, hardly any traffic. I went first time in the bazaar and I saw the smell, the spices, the colors, the shops with saris, everything was open, the noises, the smell, and suddenly it made click. And I thought, that's the atmosphere, that's the sound, that's the smell I was missing. And somehow in Brahma Kumaris, we believe in the reincarnation, transgression of the soul. So I must have been an old Indian soul which took birth outside in foreign lands. So I was a bit of confused what I'm doing there in this alien culture. And when I came back to India, I felt like I'm coming home, you know. So that was a quite big experience, forming experience, and made me understand a bit my feelings as a youngster.
Right. So I have interviewed many celebrities, many people like you, and when I go back to the past, there is one key turning point. There's one spark. When was that you said, okay, this is it? Like, what was that key turning point in your life?
Well, definitely, which comes up to my mind is the moment when I came first time in touch with the Brahma Kumaris, and I got sort of introduced to a very, very deep spiritual knowledge. You know, in Europe or in Christianity, you are exposed to some sort of religious mindset. But in Brahma Kumaris, first lesson is you are a soul, you're a being of light, and you're immortal. That was like, wow, you know. And the second very deep point which touched me was that time is a big cycle, and we are in a transition from Kali Yuga to a new Sat Yuga. The Greek called it the Iron Age and the Golden Age, and in Christianity you call it the hell and the paradise. And when I understood that I'm a traveler to time and space and I'm heading towards a new Sat Yuga, that made me very happy, and that was definitely a turning point. From that moment onwards, I see things from a different perspective.
So do you believe, based on what you've learned so far, it's time for a change, that Satyuga is already coming, it's there? Is there more awareness in people, or do you think we are still far away from that? We have to
Well,
still, it
40
has.
years ago, 40 years ago, you needed a bit of a fantasy to think that this world is in a crisis. You know, 40 years ago, I mean, in Germany, we were having fantastic growth rates. Economy was booming. Everybody had a job. I mean, probably similar in US. And nothing much about climate change was heard. Nothing much about destruction or end of the world, transformation, any of these kind of things. Things looked bright. And now, if we look in the world, things look rather gloomy. I'm going since 15 years also to the UN climate conference, and on the science front, we all come to know we're in the middle of climate change, which is already affecting all of us. We have also other problem caused through climate change, which is a loss of biodiversity. Just to give you an idea how serious it is, 2 years ago, they counted the number of insects in Germany, and they were so shocked because 70% of the insects have disappeared. This is a staggering number. And we need the insects actually for pollination. You know, people think, okay, if the mosquitoes, okay, I fully agree, they can really go to nowhere. But we need most of the other insects for pollination, you know, the bees, the bumblebees, and all this kind of, but also others, you know. It's part of an ecosystem which is sort of enabling the plants to grow and our nature to function as it is right now. So in Germany, they found out, they counted it, you know, they have some ways and means how they do it, and they found 70% have disappeared, you know, and they were shocked, and they said, wow, that's huge, you know. And so we're in the middle of a quite dramatic development, and many people are yet not really aware what's going on.
Yeah. So what do you think is the cause of this sudden degradation in the population? Like, what is causing this? Who's responsible for this?
Well, we are living since long on this planet, and we are leaving an impact into nature. And about 800 years ago, we went systematically into mass production. We introduced monocultures, especially the Western nations. They colonized many other countries in the world, and they introduced monocultures, which was actually the beginning of climate change, because monoculture is always bad for the environment. It produces more emissions, more CO2 emissions, and disrupts the natural circle of nature. So by leaving that kind of impact, we slowly modified the composition of the atmosphere. But through emissions of CO2 in the atmosphere, we slowly also changed the temperature gradient. And we can see since the Industrial Revolution that temperature really is going up, and that is impacting massively the animal world, the animal kingdom around us. In addition, our traffic, how we organize our traffic, how we produce electricity, creates a lot of pollution, air pollution, dust, emissions, you name it. And the latest is microplastic, which is everybody's talking about microplastic. And recently I found out that they made a study that every human being now has equivalent to 1 teaspoon of microplastic in his brain.
Wow.
And people who have Alzheimer or dementia, they have 2 teaspoons. So they linked even these degenerative brain diseases to the amount of microplastic which has been accumulated in your brain. So we are sort of polluting the environment. And of course, this has an effect on us, but also on all other animals and the whole animal kingdom, on insects, but on everybody, you know. And it's no wonder that the numbers are dwindling, you know.
Yeah. So is that one of the reason why you started working on India One Solar project to have a renewable energy? Like that's one of the initiative, or what other impacts do you think people can make to avoid this so that we can live harmoniously with the other living beings?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, initially when I came to India, I saw the, you know, how can I say, I noticed the huge number of power cuts and the poor quality of the national grid. I mean, it was coming and going all the time. It was in the mid-80s, you know.
Yep.
And on the other side, I saw the deforestation going on, especially in Rajasthan. Every day you see the ladies with a headload of wood. You know, they're going out of the forest to their homes, and slowly the forest is disappearing. And, you know, the forest is extremely important for microclimate, for filtration, for the life on Earth. Trees are important, you know. And I thought, wow. And secondly, I saw this immense sunlight there, and I thought we can do something. So that inspired me to bring solar technology. And of course, solar technology on one side protects our natural environment, because we don't need trees, bushes, firewood, and so on. And on the other side, it's a clean energy which reduces the pollution, the emission, which we are sort of dumping into the environment and causing harm. So it's a double effect. And both reasons sort of inspired me to go green. And another big point is also, a plus point, is that you give power to the people. Suddenly people have, let's say, a small solar cooking box. They can cook with the power of sun. They don't have to pay for it. The sun, luckily, so far is free. And who knows, it might be taxed soon also. Actually, some places, if you have solar plates, you have to pay. And you put it, there was a time when solar plates were considered as a generator, and generating your own power was taxable, you know. So here we are. So anyhow, it gives power to the people, and it helps a little bit to bring people out of poverty, because they don't have to chunk out such a big amount of money and use it for their energy demands, you know. So it was so many benefits involved, and that really inspired me to promote that technology in India, and also look a little bit how to adapt it to the local requirement.
So how was working with the government of India or the German government for the collaboration? Was there a good support and collaboration in both the sides?
Of course, when I came first time to India, it was a bit shocky. You know, I'm a German, and we say yes, and in India, it's it's like that. It's also yes, but it means also let's see, you know. you know you know what I mean. So it's a
Yes,
good fun to come from Germany and then come to India and deal in a different cultural world, you know. And so now I'm fully Indianized, you know. You see my head is shaking nicely, and I relaxed more, and I adapted to the local mindset and the way how things getting being done in India, which is also comfortable in a way if you know it. You know, if you don't know it, it can be pretty frustrating. What happened is we approached, when we started with the research and the development, we approached the German government for some financial help. Germany has identified India as one of its premier partner for development aid because in Germany they believe in India goes in the right direction. It has a huge impact because India is such a big player in terms of population, is an emerging middle power, now becoming maybe a superpower. Economically grows there. It's a huge population. So India is very, very important to go in the right direction. So the Germans promoted clean energy projects and still do that in India. And so I asked them for funding for small projects for rural application. And they said, yes, okay, it's a nice project. So I did a first project, wind and solar power for rural electrification, and installed a small system with a wind generator and solar plates, monitored it, measured it, made a little report of 40 pages with all the data, all the reports, and all the insights. And they said, that's a good project, good result. So when we did the next project, they also supported us. When we initiated the first solar cooker, they gave also support. At that time, 100,000 Deutschmark, which was a lot of money. And then when we approached the Indian government, we had already quite a good track record of doing these projects. And India and Germany are also having bilateral cooperation. So I approached the Indian Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Sources in New Delhi. And then when we sort of made the next bigger project, then the Indian government said, okay, you have a good track record. And they also started supporting us. So we did for many, many years projects with the Germans and with the Indian. And we also became a recognized research center with the Department of Technology. Then all this culminated in India One. India One was a flagship research project between Germany and India, and the aim was to develop and build a 1 megawatt solar thermal power plant with thermal storage. It means we can produce electricity through dishes. It's called concentrating solar power, CSP. It's in opposition to the photovoltaic cells, which is the photoelectrical route. So we went through the thermal route. We concentrate the sunlight on big receivers. We heat the receivers up to 500 centigrades. The receivers are made out of 2.5 tons of cast iron with a winding inside, a coil inside. And we are pumping water through that coil, and we are releasing the heat, which is stored in the mass of the 2.5 tons cast iron. We're releasing the heat into the water. It becomes steam. We're sending it to the next receiver. It becomes more steam, more steam, more steam until we get superheated steam. And that steam we're sending then to a turbine, a 1 megawatt Siemens turbine, and the turbine starts turning, and here you have electricity. And as we have a mass of 2.5 tons of cast iron, we have totally 770 of these dishes, 770 of these receivers. So we have quite a huge mass where we can store energy. And as we are discharging these receivers in a modular sequence, we can stretch it over 24 hours, and we have power for the night also. So that was the thermal storage, and the project got inaugurated 2007 and runs until now very nicely, and we're very happy. And it's a success story, actually. And both governments have been very happy, and we get lots and lots and lots of visitors. And we're trying to share our findings and inspire people also to go towards clean technology.
Wonderful. So, talking about success stories and how people can contribute, like, do you see a connection between the environmental awareness and the meditation and the power of yoga? How can people align themselves and make an impact in the society?
Well, of course, I feel there's a very strong connection between me, my mindset, and my actions. And it all boils down seeing the current crisis, which is more or less evident to everybody. It boils down to the question, how can I change my mindset and my lifestyle? This is not only for me personally, it's also for our politicians, for our industry leaders, because sooner or later, everybody will realize if we destroy nature, there's no business in the future. There's no politics in the future, because everything will go crash. So everybody will realize we have to change. But now to change the mindset is something quite tricky, because you deal basically with your subconsciousness, and you deal with the underlying program of your behavior patterns, which you have established in your childhood or maybe even in the previous life. And unfortunately, people have become quite greedy. There's a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of fear out there. And these are not good advisors for that transformation. So we believe it's very, very important that we embark on an inner journey and sort of think about it. How can I transform anger into love and compassion? How can I transform being greedy into sharing with others the resources? So we believe everybody has to contribute to the crisis by an inner transformation, by freeing yourself, liberating yourself from negativity, become positive on the inside, change your mindset, and accordingly, automatically, we will use a good technology, which is, by the way, out since 30, 40, 50 years. Nature is a fantastic teacher of living in harmony. And we just basically have to copy nature and see how nature is doing that. And then we can copy it, modify it a little bit. And there would be enough food, enough space, and enough resources for the whole population right now if we do it in the right way. Unfortunately, as per the situation, things are not being done in the right way. So we advocate that inner change, a transformation of the mindset. And science has found out an age-old truth. Yoga or meditation is one of the most powerful tools we have at the moment at hand to bring an inner transformation of your mindset, of your behavior patterns. It basically helps you to reprogram yourself towards the goodness, towards love and compassion. So that's why, of course, we're advocating also a process of inner transformation going along parallel with clean technology, planting trees, having a plastic-free household, having a plastic-free meditation center, and so on.
Yeah, and in your previous conversation, you spoke about microplastics and how it's impacting the human brain, right? So, what are some simple practices people can adopt for a sustainable lifestyle that is not harming the environment, that is not harming our bodies? What can they do?
We have the 5 R's of lifestyle change. I hope I have them all in my mind. One is rethink before you do anything. What's the impact on the environment? Like, I'm driving alone with my car. I can, I go shopping. So maybe I have a good friend and I say, let's go together to shopping. So he can save the trip and we both go together with a car and sort of save this amount of energy or fuel, which otherwise would have been wasted. So one is think about the impact of my actions on the environment before you start anything. Then also, of course, reduce a little bit your consumption in terms of, the AC doesn't have to be at 16-degree coolness. I mean, I'm a centigrade guy. I don't know how much in Fahrenheit, but it's very cold. It can be on 22 or 24 degrees, the AC, which is still in the comfort zone for humans, but much less load on the electrical grid, saves energy. I can save water. Instead of half an hour shower, I take 15 minutes shower. I'm equally clean. I'm sure about that. So we can a little bit fine tune our lifestyle. And of course, for example, try to avoid one usage plastic, which is very harmful now. We know it even causes diseases in humans. It's everywhere now. It's airborne. It's in the soil and it's in the water, and we are consuming it. So go back to old style, have glass bottles, have metal bottle and put on your water there and drink it and refill it from everywhere, and don't use plastic everywhere and throw it away. That's a big, big, big mess we are creating. very harmful to the planet. So there are many, many small steps actually what we can do. We can also do, for example, in our household, having a little solar plate on the rooftop, create a bit of electricity. I have seen actually when I traveled now, quite a couple of houses which have solar on the rooftop. In Germany now, almost 30% of the households, they have a solar system on roof. And when there's a good sunshine day, Germany is producing 50-60% of its entire energy requirement through renewable energies. 50%, half of the energy is coming from renewables already. And in the past, we had a couple of days, it was a Sunday, and it was full sunshine and a lot of wind. So the wind generators were running full speed. The solar panels were producing full power. Germany was 100% on renewable energies. Can you
Nice.
imagine? And Germany has a huge load. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
highly industrialized country. So it's possible. It definitely works. It needs some adjustment in the grid. It needs storage facility, and it needs conventional power plants as a backup, when you don't have wind or it's cloudy and so on. But you can do much, much more than what we're doing now. And even on a small scale, you can adapt this technology. You can use an electrical car, for example. In Mount Abu, I have an electrical bicycle, so
Oh,
I'm pedaling with the electrical bicycle, and I'm a freak. Everybody looks at me. What is he doing? They think I'm a crazy, a foreigner
yeah.
who has nothing else to do than to go with a bicycle. But it's an electrical bicycle, and I have good fun. It's a good exercise, and I'm charging the battery through the solar power. So there are many ways and means where on a small scale you can actually make a difference. You can get a little garden, plant a little bit, some veggies. I mean, it's not necessarily that big impact, but you learn to reconnect with nature. That's one of the big problems we're also having, especially with our youngsters. They're so disconnected from nature, from animals, from trees, but also from farming, from growing things. And it's very, very helpful to reconnect. And even small steps, they have a very positive feedback loop and help you to go ahead and have a positive outlook, also hopeful outlook for the future.
Wonderful. Like, yeah, I can capture, I rethink, recharge, reduce, refresh, like recycle. A lot of things that I'm not sure if I got all the R's, but most of the R's I got it. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, we are moving personally. When I look at the stuff we've accumulated in just 2 years, it's too much. So now me and my wife are thinking, like, why do we need to buy so many clothes? Why do we need to have, like, there's so much junk that we are generating. I think one of my takeaway will be from, like, think before you buy, rethink that how I can make my life wonderful. Um,
But of course, it's not only for us on the private level, also our industrial leaders, our politicians, they have to catch up on the idea. And recently I read an article
mhm.
that actually in America, the majority of people is worried about climate change, and the majority of people is in favor of climate legislation.
That is correct.
It's quite interesting. The people actually want action, and they want that we protect nature and we do something, seeing that crisis, because that's what science also is telling us. The longer we wait, the harder it will become to deal with the emerging climate crisis, which is happening already. So they all say, do something now, we can manage it. If you wait, it gets tough.
Yes, and especially in this time of uncertainty, especially from the financial side. Like, before we started this interview, and there was one of the things that we quickly talked about was, like, there's a lot of turmoil in the market. Like, people are worried about their jobs, the economy. How do you see this linked to savings, and what can people do to protect themselves and their assets, or even be more aware of reducing their expenses so that they can save it for the future? What are your
Well, of course, there is a connection between economic crisis, our lifestyle, and climate change. There is the idea or the concept of the planetary resources. And science has quantified how much of minerals and chemicals are actually available with us, which we can mine and where we have access to. And they said there are certain limitation factors they identified. And they said there are certain limitation factors they identified, I think, 15 or 16 different areas, chemicals and minerals, which are important for human life. And one is fresh water, for example, which we definitely need, everybody understands. And in many, many areas, we're coming now to the limits what the planet can actually supply. And so it's quite clear that when you have an X amount of resources, but you are following a paradigm or an economic model of unlimited growth and unlimited consumption, that there comes a moment mathematically, very obviously, where these two ideas clash. And we're right now in this area where this idea clash. More and more and more is clashing with, hey, we have limited resources. That's why for farmers it becomes difficult to have a good harvest now, because climate change makes it almost impossible. That's why the prices, cost of living is going up, and food prices are going up because coffee harvest is going haywire, cacao harvest is going haywire. In India 2 years ago, wheat harvest was going haywire because of heat wave, because climate change now becomes so powerful. It is disrupting our food generation, and the food security of humanity is at stake. That's why prices are going up, because access to cheap energy in form of fossil fuel becomes limited, becomes tight. We have wars now over access to these resources. We have already wars on water, a lot of conflict and a lot of tension. In India, there's a lot of tension. I think in South India, the Kaveri River, different states want access to the water. But Himalayan water is one of the most important. There are 8 major water basins which are getting the water from the glaciers. Now glaciers are melting at high speed, so in summer the rivers will become more dry. So fresh water will become a big issue. But we have also conflicts on gas resources, gas fields, on oil wells, and all this kind of things all over the world. So we can see there is a connection between these two concepts, limited amount of resources, as well as the paradigm of unlimited economic growth. So what to do is, on a personal level, change your life a little bit, put up a garden, go to the countryside, buy a farm, start a bit farming, plant trees, use renewable energies, do the good thing, whatever you can do in how much you are able to do it. Not everybody living in a city can go 100% green, but you can do a little bit something here, a bit something there, and this and that. Now, in terms of investment, of course, it is good to support good technologies and to do the right thing also with your money. And everybody has to find out what I'm going to do with my investment, with my money, put it into a good purpose, invest it in some good technology, support good products, have a bit of an ethical, moral compass for your investment. And there are many companies and investment funds which have that already, yes, which have their ethical investment fund. I was at a big conference in Dallas, and it was called Earth X25, and there was a conscious investment fund, and it was all about startups which are developing clean technologies, and there you can invest money or do something, So there are many, many options. You just have to look a little bit and do the right thing.
Absolutely. Friends, we have been impacted in multiple ways recently, and economy, climate. We've taken so much from this Mother Earth in the last hundreds and thousands of years, and I think a lot of people are, Mr. Golo, you'll agree that people are waking up. People are awaking because you've been in more than 75 countries, if I'm not wrong, right? So what has you, if you have to go back and retrace your journey, what do you think, which country is really making an impact and which country is encouraging their people, and people are more aware without any restrictions that they need to take care of their environment, their culture, their older values? Like, what has been your learning lessons in your journey around the world?
Well, of course, there are big difference between nations and countries and level of awareness. I would say in America, the political class is slowly waking up to reality, despite what's happening right now. The facts are quite clear. The CEO of Allianz Company, one of the biggest insurance companies in the world, he gave an interview, I think 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Hey guys, very soon we can't give you any more insurance policy against natural disasters because things are getting so bad. We can't raise the premium anymore, and we come to the upper ceiling what we can sort of risk we can take, and very soon we cannot insure your property at the coast. Very soon we cannot insure your house which is in a tornado region, you know.
Yeah.
Very soon we cannot do this, we cannot do this." And he says, "See, if we cannot insure anymore against the risk, that's a big warning sign for business. Business becomes unreliable, it becomes unpredictable, and it's a real big warning bell for all of us to look into climate change and how we can reduce the risk again." So I mean, this was a powerful reminder from big industry, and sort of indicates that in the industry there's a rethinking process. And even in politics, we should jump over left or right or blue or red. I think it's in the in the US, and understand the big trend, the big picture. And in Europe, interestingly, this environmental protection idea has been around for quite a long time. I remember when I was quite young, there was an election in the state of Hessen where I am, and Joschka Fischer of the Green Party was elected. It became a coalition government, and we had the first time a Green Party become part of a state government. And a couple of years later, the Green Party, this Joschka Fischer, became the foreign minister of Germany. And that initiated the 100,000 roof program, where Germany said, okay, we want to put 100,000 roofs. We want to install 100,000 solar systems on the roofs. And they gave a nice incentive, and it became an incredible success story. And it initiated the green revolution in Germany. Now you go South Germany on the countryside, 70% of the houses, they have a solar system on rooftop. Some farmers, they put the whole barn on the ground. You see solar everywhere. It became a win-win situation. Power for the clean power for the grid, but also an income for people. They put it on the rooftop, they consume it, extra power goes into the grid, and the meter runs in your favor, or you get an incentive. So they initiated actually that solar revolution. So Europe was very much ahead. But now another country where things are going in the right direction is China, for example. China is now the leader in photovoltaic production. I think globally 70–80% of the solar plates are coming from China. China leads definitely in battery technology. I think again 80% of batteries globally come from China. Even here, I think Tesla electric vehicles in the USA, they're equipped with Chinese batteries, and they are leading now in battery chemistry. Kettle, which is one of the biggest company, they just announced recently a new type of battery which is based on natron. Means it's a sodium battery, and that's one of the minerals which is everywhere available. This battery has fantastic properties. It's cheaper, it has more cycles, and it has a much faster charging time and less fire, less danger of self-ignition and fire and all this kind of things. So there's good breakthrough in battery technology. But in India, for example, we have this idea and concept of ahimsa, living in harmony with nature. Live in such a way that you do not create harm to the environment, so the next generations will have the same possibilities, the same chances as you are having them. That's the principle of ahimsa, to live in peace and harmony. with nature. And that's, I think, also which is connected to living, to have a vegetarian diet, so not to harm animals also. And I mean, I have to say it, meat production needs 10 times more land, 10 times more energy, and 10 times more water for the equal amount of proteins. And it's an unnecessary luxury, and it's a moral disgrace that we're having all these animal farms and killing these animal farms. If you go once inside, it's very, very bad situation. And animals are our friends on planet Earth, you know, and we very, very well can live without the animals. I'm now 40 years on a vegetarian diet, and I know people who are even vegan, and it's very healthy, it's very good. And my brother is a GP, a doctor, and initially he told me, "Oh, Golo, when you are vegetarian, you need vitamin D injection every time. You will see, you will come to me." Now he's retired just now, and he became also vegetarian, you know,
Wow.
because he understood the relation between certain chronic diseases and meat consumption. And also he knows about the pollution in the meat, antibiotics, chemicals, you know, and you all eat it and it accumulates in your body. And naturally also, if you see the animals, how they are suffering, there's no doubt about it. We have to go vegetarian on a global scale. And there are studies from Oxford University. They say within 10 years, humanity has to go on a vegetarian diet. Otherwise, the resources will collapse on planet Earth. We simply have not enough space. Yeah. The space which we have, we should use it to reforestate and not graze cattle. That's as easy as it is, you know.
So the conversation is so interesting. I really wanted to keep on going because it's so enlightening for me. I'll ask two more questions before we end. My first question is kind of tied up, and that was on my notes for since the beginning, is regarding vegetarianism. Like people are the anti-vegetarian people are saying that, okay, how are we going to get the protein source? How are we going to get, like you said, vitamin D and all? Like, so can you give some very simple tips? You've been living this lifestyle for 40 plus years. What can people do to make sure that they're getting all the proteins, all the vitamins from the veg? Like, what are some high protein sources, or what are some simple life hacks you can suggest?
Well, I'm not a nutritional expert, yes, but I'm sure if you Google that question, you will right away find which sort of vegetables have the most of this particular vitamin or this and that. I just can say I'm trying to get salad, eat raw food, fresh, uncooked, whenever possible. I make a nice salad dressing. I love it. Eat a good amount of vegetables. Sprouts are very good. Vegetables very good. Occasionally some nuts, yes, you know, and some a bit rice, a bit chapati, a bit lentils for this and for that, you know, and basically just an easy diet. And then very, very important, have a bit movement and a bit exercise outside. Do a good breathing, do a good walk every day for half an hour where you sort of get your system up and running, and be in the sunlight time to time. And whenever I check my blood, you know, B12, D3, everything is top, so no issue.
Excellent. So what is your plan after this, Riley? Like, are you going to another place? Any upcoming events that you have? Can people meet you or talk to you? Can they catch
well,
you?
We have the Brahma Kumaris has an environmental initiative, and we have a very comprehensive webpage, echo.brahmakumaris.org. And there you will find also a YouTube channel. We have this YouTube at Echo Brahma Kumaris, whatever. You will find us there in our YouTube channel. There are lots of interviews on practical things, on solar technology, but also lifestyle change. There is green workshops, you know, how to inspire people for green lifestyle, but also philosophical conversations, you know, how to meditate, how to connect to the divine light, bring the light into your own system and free yourself from the program of the past in order to change your mindset. So there's a lot of information, what we are doing. And in the YouTube channel, You will find a lot of interviews. Last year we interviewed 40 experts in Baku. It's called Care, Share, and Inspire. We have 750,000 viewers so far in this interview series. And there we ask different people how they respond, what they are doing. It's a ton of information for your personal life, for technology, for ideas, and for concepts. So it's very worthwhile having a look. And we are right now planning, actually this morning I had a Zoom conversation, very international, 3 people in Brazil, 1 person in Germany, 1 person in London, 1 person in Chicago, and 1 person in India. And we discussed about the coming up climate conference in Belém, in Brazil. And we had a little bit of a discussion how to go forward with the conference, because preparations are very late. It's a bit chaotic, and accommodation, but also programs with whom to team up. And interestingly, there's a very vibrant interfaith dialogue going on. So all the religions in the world, they're gathering and they're trying to find a common ground to make their voices more heard, you know, because 80% of the world population is connected to a faith. And if they raise their voice, it would be extremely powerful. And the Pope, which just left us, Franciscus, he initiated Laudatio Si, a very powerful green statement of the Catholic Church towards climate protection. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of initiatives going on. And time to time, we also have programs and podcasts and all this kind of things. And you can actually follow us on our YouTube channel and or our webpage and get a lot of information what's going on and what's happening in the future also.
Wonderful. Before we end this conversation, what is your message? What is one takeaway you think people should get from our conversation, especially to our youth and especially to people around the world who are watching this tonight? What is your message or takeaway that you want them to remember?
Well, I would be very happy if people are inspired to meditate on a regular basis in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes, in the evening, 5 or 10 minutes, and connect to the divine light, to the inspiration of life on earth, and sort of deal with their inner world and with their inner mindset, and bring some transformation towards love, compassion, happiness, and more an attitude of sharing and seeing the world community as one big family. We're all part of this one family, and we're all having this one planet to live together on this world, and understand that we all have to join hands, share resources on the planet, and create a loving attitude to each other. Then we will bring the needed transformation towards a new era, which in India we call Sat Yuga. So I would be very, very happy people are enjoyed and everybody embarks on his personal journey towards the light, towards the happiness, and towards transformation.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Pilz, Golo Pilz, thank you so much, sir. It was an enlightening conversation, and I'm sure people who are watching us, they have gained a lot from your insights to environment, to spirituality, to vegetarianism, and I have personally gained a lot, and really thank you. Appreciate your time. Yeah, keep up doing the great work, and I'm sure our younger generations and the future generations will thank you and people like you who are making an impact in the world.
Thanks very much, and Jassi, for Public Demand to give me the opportunity to share. By the way, we have a meditation center here in Raleigh, and we offer free meditation courses, and everybody is welcome to join and create the good vibration for a better world. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will definitely do another episode on the Riley's Meditation Center and